All right, now we're going to move into our panel, and we're going to ask Mark back to help moderate the panel. Mark, Executive Director of the area, Augmented Reality Enterprise Alliance, and Mark is going to introduce the panelists, Nicole from Siemens, Thomas from Wärtsilä, and Ton, who we heard from earlier from Shell. I'll let Mark do further introductions for the panel. So welcome back, Mark, and thank you to our panelists for coming.
Where's Tom? Tom? Tom, are you still with us? He hasn't forgotten already. Sebastian? Here he is. Hey. Okay, in terms of microphones, guys, how have we? Here we go. Can we haven't got any for the. Got to share one between three. Okay. Okay, perfect. So, we've had a fantastic day, haven't we, today, listening to all these different talks. But as my mum would say, the best is yet to come. So we've got these three experts in AR. I've been lucky enough to have a conversation with them on Friday. I probably had one of the best half an hour's chats I've had in quite a while. These people are real experts, got some real insight into the benefits and challenges of deploying AR. So I'm going to try and talk as little amount as possible and hand over to you guys, and I'm going to ask you some tough questions. And also, I'd like the audience to think up some questions as well, and let's have an opportunity to really kind of understand and grill these experts. Okay, so Nicole, if you could just perhaps start with yourself, just quickly introduce yourself. We'll go through and do that, and then we'll talk about the use cases after that. So.
Okay. Okay, I'm Nicole Vielberg from Siemens, working as a project manager for the Siemens industry service business. And we are providing services which are ranging from field services, repair service, technical support, as well as spare parts logistics up to our digital services.
Fantastic. Thomas?
Now it works? Okay. I'm Thomas Pauly. You can see I'm not that familiar with digital equipment. I'm a product manager within Wärtsilä, product manager future technologies, and I'm looking from a market needs point of view. So I'm interviewing customers. I'm collecting voice of customer, so I identify market needs. And then together with my team, we try to identify solutions to satisfy these needs.
Tom van der Hoeven, Emerging Technologies / Digital Realities. We de-risk and service AR and VR in Shell globally.
Perfect, thank you very much. So our kind of panel, we called it From One Device to Deployment, the Road of Digital Transformation. So Nicole, I'm going to start with you again. Perhaps you can talk a little bit about the problems that you solved by implementing AR and the RealWear device.
Okay. So as I said before, we are focusing on the service delivery for field and repair services. And we have to ensure a very high efficiency and high productivity. So naturally, we are also looking for solutions to offer remote support, for our own field service engineers, but as well as for our customers and also our partner field service engineers. And that's why last year, we introduced the remote collaboration platform into Siemens, and then we started with a browser-based solution and smartphones apps, tablet apps, and then this year, beginning of this year, we also transferred that to the RealWear HMT-1 device, and to be able to have this hands-free operation. This is from our point of view, a major unique selling point of the HMT-1.
Could you just talk perhaps a little bit about the size of deployment, just to give us a view on that at the moment?
Pardon me, sorry.
The size of deployment, how many devices you've got out there?
I think it's about around 30 to 50, something like this.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thomas?
Yeah, we are slightly smaller. We have 20. The problem for us was, as mentioned today several times, it was the internal resistance. So, of course, we have colleagues with huge boxes filled with concerns under their desks. And basically what we did, we introduced it to customers, to end customers, in shipping, and so these customers now pull, which makes it a little bit easier to overcome the internal resistance.
Yeah, we rolled it out, as already explained, in various sports in Shell, and I already mentioned some use cases. In first instance, we did over-the-shoulder coaching, remote assistance, but we see also a lot of value in knowledge capture right now. So that's where we are focused on right now as well.
Sorry, Tom, say that again in...
Knowledge capture.
Knowledge capture.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's a large amount of people getting in and getting out in Shell. We have a crew change, as we call it, where a lot of gray guys go out and young guys come in. And it's that knowledge, that specific knowledge for an asset, that's hard to capture. And that's what we're busy with as well right now.
Can you just perhaps talk through, and I know you had your talk earlier, but in a little bit more detailed steps of that, because I think it's something that's really important, the knowledge capture part, and something which is a kind of slightly intangible benefit, which we'll come on and talk about a bit more.
Yeah, as earlier talked about, connectivity is a lot of issue in our locations. And the knowledge capture is usable offline, so you capture it in the field, and you can play it back in the field where you need it. So there's a big recognizable part of the knowledge you capture. As you imagine, if you have a new piece of equipment, you say, well, we have this valve or whatever it is in this facility. They say, doesn't look like mine. But if you actually capture the way you work with that piece of equipment on your site, they recognize immediately that it's theirs, and they trust the data way more than you just make a movie about a piece of equipment. And then they will grow their own knowledge base within their asset quite easily. Because the way of capturing is so easy. It's, first of all, it's hands-free. It doesn't need any editing, and you can do it step by step, and people can play it back step by step. And that makes it so valuable.
Can you talk a little bit about, you can capture the information, but how do you know when to then deliver that information?
You kind of make your own library, and it depends where which person takes it to what kind of work. And then you can download that work when you need to perform that from the cloud and say, listen, okay, I have to do, I don't know, start up a compressor. You search for compressor, take that startup compressor procedure, load it up to the helmet, go to that compressor and play it back, basically. So you perform, you kind of upfront make sure that you have that kind of procedure loaded onto the helmet to the work you are about to do.
Okay, perfect. Perhaps coming to you, Thomas. I do a lot of moderating these panels around the world, and my favorite phrase is, show me the money. Okay, talk a little bit about the ROI. We've mentioned it a number of times, and it's the theme of today. So, and both perhaps thinking about the tangible and intangible benefits as well. Perhaps you can talk a little bit about what you found in your experience.
Yeah, it is very difficult to justify such an investment because the sales you gain afterwards, you cannot directly assign to this use of HMT-1. For us, it is basically that we buy some loyalty from customers. We identify, for example, we use it for marketing purpose as well. So it looks, to be honest, it looks techy, and so we can motivate younger people to send their applications. So these are some effects, little bit beyond the use case. But basically, it is that we have a communication tool. Customers can talk to us instead of sending emails with pictures to us and probably to third-party makers as well. So with this device, we have a one-to-one communication, so we can make sure that the money will be with us.
Okay, and in terms of, if you try to measure that efficiency, because I know I spend all my life answering emails, it takes an inordinate amount of time. Is there kind of been an opportunity to measure that?
No, impossible to measure. We basically measure the feedback from customers. So with collecting voice of customers after a couple of months, we get a quite clear feedback that something has improved.
Okay, that's good. And are any of your competitors doing anything similar at the moment? Or are you in a unique place of being able to offer this kind of service?
Not yet.
Okay. Nicole, the show me the money question.
Yeah, for us from field service, it's that we can reduce our travel time so that we don't have the travel costs, and also that one expert can serve at one time more than one customer because he doesn't have to travel on site. So that's the main point where we increase our productivity and our efficiency.
Have you been able to measure that, or is that just a feeling?
As we are in rolling out now, so we already haven't measured it yet now. So.
Okay, and any kind of intangible benefits? You kind of mentioned a few softer kind of things, people enjoying the experience more?
Yeah,
or?
definitely. It's a quite, what I really like that the people started playing around with this, for trying out use cases we didn't thought about before. For example, a guy in Australia, he is in the mining business, and he just gave this device, this HMT-1, to the operator of a mobile mining truck, and he were able to introduce project managers and other decision makers into that real situation on that mobile mining truck. So there was no field service, there was no remote support. It was just being able to show people who were in a remote location what's going on site.
Yeah, and I think that's very powerful, going back to the marketing part, isn't it? People being able to see these different devices. Okay. Is that something similar to every organization? Somewhere being counter needs to be convinced.
Yeah, what we did in the beginning to avoid the question about how much does it cost to buy such a device and to introduce it, that we bought a bunch of these devices and we gave them to our pilot regions for free for about 6 to 8 weeks, and they were able just to try it out and to find out if it fits to their use cases or not. And now they are convinced, most of them, and they have started buying their own devices. So that was an experience we thought was very valuable, because that way we could get very fast feedback without having to wait for them all to buy their devices.
Can you perhaps talk a little bit more in that in detail? Did you just give them the devices and let them get on with it? Or were you managing the process at all? And how did you capture the feedback?
We have a department which handles all the export stuff. And so that's why we partnered with them. And also we did some remote meetings, telephone conferences, to show them how to use that device. That was the way of training remote our people in the region.
That's good, because it's been mentioned a few times, getting your champion within the kind of team using it is really critical. Perhaps, Thomas, have any experience of trying to convince people to use technology, or has it all been reasonably, I know you said that it was difficult to start with.
Of course, we have these ambassadors, we have these, I don't know if it is only the younger guys, but these techies, and so we give them the device. During the weekend, they can play at home with their family, with their friends, and we show them. So if we do marketing advertisements, we use these people so they can get a little bit honors. Yeah? But there was an interesting question. This use or this business case and how it is signed off. I think basically we have skipped this question because this will happen anyway. And it is now the question if we are first movers or not. So basically in a couple of years, this will be standard. And we can now make the decision to go for it now or to wait for some others to follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a good point, the whole fast follower is the phrase, isn't it? But we're seeing companies today, and you guys are, being leaders in it. So perhaps everyone out here will be fast followers and you'll be the leaders, which will be cool. So we've talked a little bit about the benefits. How about some of the challenges? I know that we've had a kind of general theme about the benefits and the challenges. And perhaps talk about maybe your key ones and more importantly, how you overcome them. Tom, do you want to go first on this one?
Yes. I touched upon it this morning, and I think testing them in the business is great, but that's not a way of deploying it. I'm pretty convinced, looking backwards of the things we did, was a good effort. We tickled people's curiosity, but to roll something out like this needs change management for sure. You need to train people. You don't give it to people that give it to people, because knowledge gets lost that way. You need to really carefully roll it out to the business, but let them get used to it, and don't let them run around just half an hour and make their own conclusions, because there's more behind this tool than they possibly can know. It's so new for them, is that I believe in a careful rollout of change management in between. So that's our challenge. We did something wrong, and we're trying to repair that in such a way that we revisit these people that we gave that device and train them more, and take more care of that part of the business.
So just to help me, when you gave them the device,
Yeah.
you literally just say, look, here's a box, you know, go play, or was there any kind of onboarding or anything at all?
In essence, we created a pool, like, all right, this is here, and then other people in the business said, oh, give me a demo so I can give it to people in the business. And then you lost already control, because you are satisfying somebody else, his needs, and that's not per se improving the business on the floor, but bringing digitalization in the business. So we tick that box, and he gives it to somebody in production here. Go away, do something digital. That doesn't work. So you need to be really in contact with these people. For instance, and to give a small example, the boom, of course, in front of that. And we said, well, you don't always need that boom, because you are there, right? So you don't have to look in that screen, because you're actually there. So you can swing it to the back. But what they forget to tell the people is press 3 times on the button to activate the other microphones. And so the complaint was, yeah, nobody can hear me if I do the boom away. And we explained it, but it never came through. So it's these small things, but they chuck it into a corner and say, it doesn't work. But we did not take care of the people of learning the device from 0 to 100.
Okay.
It's the same we experience, to get the right people to introduce it, because you are just one, and you need to have multiplicators to going it and bring it into the regions. And also then to create a kind of a community, so that they help each other, that they share their experiences. So no matter, it's always when you introduce a new technology, a new platform, a new tool, a new device, whatever. And because here we are talking about remote, so the people are all around the world, and though it makes it much more difficult compared if you have people all at your department. So.
Okay, I'll come back with a question, but perhaps Thomas, if you want to round that off in terms of your experiences.
For example, because we have the ships operating worldwide, we have this language issue. So we have played a little bit with the nationalities. So we have introduced it to Japanese colleagues, and we told them, hey, the Chinese can handle it. So in Chinese language, no joke. And so basically with this, the language issue is an important issue. I'm quite happy that the language, the voice commands work in Korean, Chinese, Japanese. So this was great assistance.
It's quite impressive. Is there, do you see any, and I'm not sure there are, but any cultural differences of just using a wearable device? Has anyone experienced anything like that? That was a tough question, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
I would say no. I would say no. We have these ambassadors, we have these early adopters in every culture, I would say.
Okay. That's good to know. Just going back to that kind of first use part, have you got like a little onboarding program, be it a step of things they have to do or something, a software kind of program they have to go through and stuff like that? If you haven't, do you think that would be useful, or is a kind of a tool to allow them to get comfortable with the device? Or you just basically give it to them and keep fingers crossed?
We have prepared, of course, introductions, and we offered them kind of sessions where we guided them step by step through it. And also one thing what we call the missing, and so I'm quite happy to hear today that we will have a device management system, what we got presented today. We're really looking forward to this because there's still a challenge to deploy any kind of first deploy and updates of an app. So this is definitely one I'm looking forward to.
At our side, because we enrolled not a lot of devices and we did not know what the uptake would be, we kind of developed a service light using the tools that we have available within our company, and one of them is Jammer. It's a Microsoft product where you can discuss things, and one of it is a Shell encyclopedia or Wikipedia internally, and we made some kind of do-it-yourself service, so you could raise your question on Jammer, everybody could see it, and once an answer, either via RealWear help or other help or sharing of knowledge, would be on that Jammer discussion. Then we would automatically bring it to the wiki as a given, as a frequently asked question. So the guidance was first look at the wiki, and if you can't find it there, your solution, raise it in Jammer. We make sure you get an answer, because we will be alarmed immediately, and make sure that answer goes to the wiki again, so we have a growing a knowledge base. However, we've seen that we now created last 2 weeks about 20 instructional videos to make it a little bit more logical for people where to look for, and we think people would like a video of 50 seconds where they can learn basic stuff instead of reading all wiki articles. So we're combining now and creating these own shellified instructional movies.
May I ask you one question? We're
Yeah,
also
sure.
using Yammer for getting a community and getting people to ask their question there so that everybody can participate in there. But it's quite difficult. Most of them tend to write emails instead of just posting it. Do you have any experience how you can get them into Jammer? It's kind of such communities.
That's of course a very broad question and not related to RealWear, I think. But shortly I can tell that communication in Shell is moving from email to Jammer, and it's not permitted to send big emails around copying everybody. So the only channel we have is Jammer.
Okay.
And that makes a pull, because people now have the feeling they're missing out. For us, the relation between the Jammer channel and the wiki is crucial, because otherwise you will get the same questions over and over again and you don't learn yourself. So that's a little bit where we're heading within Shell.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Uh-oh. It's going to be a difficult one.
So this is like the beginning of a customer advisory type of discussion. Would you like to see a Yammer client on the HMT-1?
Ooh, interesting. I think so, yeah. I think, yeah. I have to think about that, because maybe even better a Wikipedia client with NLP attached, so you can ask questions in that specific article of where the knowledge is, because the discussion is in Jammer, but the solutions are in Wiki. So, raising a question on the device could be good, but not necessarily in the field, I think. But Wikipedia, as in, and our Wikipedia is based on SharePoint, so if you can talk to SharePoint and ask for certain solutions, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, because I think the requirement is being able to talk to other people and to share the information. Yeah, the actual tool, unfortunately, is quite often company specific, isn't it? So I'm doing my old requirements kind of work, but yeah, being able to ask a question and have a storage area seems like a really important thing.
May I ask a question? Does Jammer work in China? Does it work in China, Jammer?
I've got an answer on that. It works in China, but with the HP My Room we have some connectivity problems, and now we're looking at FacePro to solve that, because the big firewall keeps it out, and our servers, I believe the HP My Rooms are outside China and causing a bit of a problem, but we are testing some things with FacePro at the moment, so yes.
Would a solution that works in English and Chinese that can semantically do the words so it's voice activated work?
So I think the
Yes. Sorry. I'm just thinking there's a solution I know of that does voice and text in English and Chinese. So it does it semantically. So that would mean that you can talk to it. So that's doing above what you can do in Yammer. I've never really heard of Yammer. I think I've lost you all. I'll take a bit more time in a moment.
Going down a little rabbit hole there and trying to solve it. So I think we've got about 10 minutes to go. I just wondered if we could open up questions to the audience to see if they've got anything for these experts here. I'm quite good at sports questions if you want to ask me one of those. But
I've got a question around the information. If I go to Siemens or Wärtsilä or Shell property, I'm not allowed to video or camera. So how do you work around this legislation, local rules, intellectual property right?
Well, a lot of this stuff is signed off by the user, thou shall not. That's not a guarantee that they will not, but we leave it at the users. So it's on the terms and conditions where they sign off. We have a lot of stuff in the terms and conditions. You sign off upfront of the usage. However, I can tell you we are predicting some problems with video and people are being recognized on that. We're working internally to automatically face blur any video placed in a certain area on SharePoint, and we're writing scripts for that. I was talking to Chris, the CTO. We made that request earlier on, and he said, well, the device probably cannot do this because of the calculation CPU inside the device. It needs too much of a power to do that on device. So we decided to hire one of our machine vision experts and see if we can place these images somewhere where it automatically face blurs. That takes care of big problems of our recordings as well. But most of it is terms and conditions.
Yeah, for us, we have different kind of customers. We have customers which are very open-minded, which they don't have any problems with doing live video streaming at their premises. But also we have customers, they say, no way, there's no video recording on our premises. And it could be also a difference between if you go to the same customer in Germany as well as to Hungary. The policy might be different. So it's just, I think the time will go on, and if they see the advantages of getting faster support by doing remote support, I think it will come.
So we have the same discussion internally and externally. Basically everything that applies to a smartphone, and everybody in our company, every customer has smartphones, does apply to the HMT-1 as well. Except of the voice commands, you could accidentally take a video or a picture, so we have a kind of very light agreement that we sign with our customers just to have a common understanding how this thing works.
it's something we've been discussing a bit in the security committee. It's more about privacy, isn't it? And it's interesting how different ages, different cultures, different kind of organizations have views on what's important and if privacy is important or not. It's definitely something we've got to work through, I think, as an ecosystem. And some of the kind of best practice may be technical solutions, it may be contracts, it may be just the older people going in, the younger people coming in, whatever there is. But it's certainly, I think, a particular challenge that we need to go through from a cultural perspective. I just want to, well, let's ask another question of the audience. Is there anybody else? No?
May I ask a question? So
You are audience as well.
just doing a voice of customer here in this room. How important would environmental footprint be for you? And do you think that such a technology and such a device will help to improve the environmental footprint of your company? What do you think?
So perhaps we do a vote to start with. If you think the answer is yes, you can put your hands up. If the answer is no, if you're neutral. Okay.
So to be honest, this is what we do on our marketing campaign as well. So we simply make it clear that it will help to reduce the NOx and to improve the carbon footprint.
Okay, interesting, yeah, and I think it's a good point. Probably one of those tangibles, if not an intangible kind of benefit. Difficult to note down. Safety. I know that we have an intrinsically safe device and things like that, but is that something that's been big within the organization? Especially potentially with a company like Shell, maybe out in these different spaces, and Siemens again?
Well, yeah, of course, I should say yes, and I say yes. Safety is very important, and maybe no, it's always very high up on our standards. Although the rollout of the iPad that we also are doing at this moment with the connected field worker, we say this is a safer device, right? Because you can use both hands. And you know, in Shell, you ever been there, you have to hold the rail while you walk in the office and go down a stairway. So that's a given. And obviously, in our locations, that's a given as well. And that's why this device is actually way safer for us to use. If you target the safety enhancements by using the device, yeah, I already, I think I already mentioned, saving a life this way, you cannot put a price on, of course. And I hope it will never happen, an accident like this, but I hope it happens that we can save a life, if it's one in the coming 30 years. And I think that we will do one day by having the expert on site and saving a life. I'm pretty sure about that, because how unfortunate it is, people still die by doing their work. And, you know, I can say that it's zero. It's not, the figures are out there. We're working hard to improve that, and anything that can help, and I think this can help as well, is very welcome as well.
Thank you. Anyone else comment on safety?
Of course, working on a vessel, noisy environment, dirty, on a vessel in 12 meters high. Of course, the people need to work hands-free. They need to operate with voice commands in a very noisy environment. So this was for us the reason to go for this solution, definitely.
I know of another use case where someone, if they walked backwards, okay, they've taken a step backwards, then the service will basically go off, or there'll be like a red marker, or some noise will be made, because obviously the last thing you want to do is fall off the edge of a ship and stuff like that. Have you had any kind of little apps or little features like that that's been talked about or thought about?
We're also rolling out the smartwatch to do that. So if you enter some kind of area where a hot permit is going on, you will be warned of hoisting permit is going on. You will be warned by a smartwatch entering that. So the combination of these smart tools are there as well. I think you could combine it all in one. I think it's a matter of time, I guess.
I was going to say, because you're on the HMT-1, you're doing some iPads and a smartwatch. These guys obviously got some money to burn on technology. Thomas?
No, not yet. We don't have any apps yet, no.
Okay, so we're coming to the bottom of the hour. I've got one last question for you, which we did discuss before. If you could design your own device, what would it look like, or what would change? This is now a customer panel, isn't it?
Yes, one of the first questions I always get asked if it's possible to insert a SIM card inside of the HMT-1. This is most people ask me that, so I would be happy if you have a SIM card slot on that.
So fully agree to this. A very small wish, if you could do Filipino language, this would help us in marine environment, but so I would like to go for the SIM card as well, yeah.
Well, first of all, I'd like to have it in Dutch. I don't know. It's not there for some reason. What I don't get, and what I do get and what I don't get is you have the boom with the display. I would like to have the display a little bit bigger, but more incorporated in the helmet, because we only use the device 99% with a helmet. And if you could kind of have a clip-on screen on a helmet together with the device, or design it as one, instead of clipping it from one to the other, that would be really helpful. We've seen now helmets where it doesn't fit. And we now print our own clamps to make it fit. Okay, that's a nice turnaround. But since there's a helmet and we always wear eye protection, if you could combine something in the eye protection and displaying it on that same device and click it on like a module kind of thing, that would help us a lot.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you very much for all your insight, Nicole, Thomas, Tom. It's been a pleasure listening to you and speaking to you last week. Thank you very much for all your insights. Thank you for some of your questions. I'm going to hand back to Sanjay now, who's going to see the video.